Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. And it's time again to show off all the new knives of the week right here in front of me. Let's take a look. So the first thing we got to look at has definitely got to be the ZT55 BLK, which is a crazy new sprint run from GTC Designs and ZT. Maybe not crazy, that might not be the right word, because the design has always been very forward-thinking and futuristic. And they've just kind of decked it out in a new aesthetic. We have a black DLC coating on both the blade and the handle, but it's not super black. Well, it is black, but there's actually sort of a coppery sheen to it as you move it around in the light. In fact, that's the first thing I noticed when I pulled it out of the box. It's like, oh, there's something cool going on there. It's kind of a shimmer under the surface, almost like an oil slick. You get a lot of depth going on. It doesn't come across really well in photos, probably not in video too, but it's really cool. Now this does get an upgrade versus the old standard version ZT55 in that we get CPM 20 CV blade steel. We get those same cool compound grinds, and we've got a new geometric pattern that adorns the front and back of the titanium scales, and it really goes along very well and fits with the machined look that's already there. Fans of the 55 will know also that this is a flipper, but it's not a conventional ZT flipper that you might expect, because you have the SLT hidden flipper tab, which is one of the Gus T. Cecchini GTC, one of his claims to fame. So very easy to operate. You can do it smoothly, just like any other flipper, but there's a couple motions involved. You pull it back, and that way it's locked, or not so much locked, but you pull it back until it's set, and then you just pull straight back, just like any other ZT flipper. Feels great, flips well, and these are limited quantity. As I said, these are a sprint run, and these are at $229.95, so don't wait on these. So next up, we've got a new design from Artisan Cutlery and Dirk Pinkerton. This is the Proponent. So we do have two sizes of this knife. The large one is about 3.85 inches of blade, while the small one comes in at 3 inches. But both have this really cool angular Wharncliffe style design, a really broad blade, and they're using S35 VN steel. Price-wise, we're a little under $213 on the large ones, while the small are just over $187. And you're getting a lot of materials, a lot of premium stuff for that price. Again, just the materials cost alone on the S35 VN, considering how broad and how thick this blade steel is, that already right there guarantees you're getting a pretty good bargain. But on top of that, you've got titanium handles with a few different anodized colors. The green happens to look really cool, I think. And you have a frame lock on the back with a lock bar over travel arrestor, which is mounted internally rather than on the outside. In addition to that, we've also got a lock bar insert on the end of the titanium bar itself, so that you're not going to have any problems with lock stick when it comes to that big blade. You're also going to have a long-lived interface as well. And you've got nice bearings in the pivot. Overall, it's everything you want from a modern flipper, done in a really aggressive, really beefy style, for not too much money in the grand scheme of things. Compared to what you have to pay for a bunch of other manufacturers to get all of this, it's not bad at all. So the detent on these knives is not super strong, but the action's still pretty good. Flips out really well, even on the bigger blade like this. The stronger detent might be a little bit better, but still no real problems there. We've also got some really oversized thumb studs, and those work too. But the thing that really sets this knife apart, I mean, already just on its face with everything there, I think it's worth the money. However, they've also included a small threaded bolt, which you can actually use. You can screw into the side here, and now it's got a mechanical bolt essentially, or a mechanical stop pin preventing that blade from closing. So in addition to the frame lock, you've got that, just more strength right there. Comes attached with a lanyard, and you can do this whether it's open or closed. That can be especially useful if you're traveling and you're going to keep this in a bag or a pack. You can thread that through there and it's not going anywhere. Now, to keep this handy, the packaging this comes with, not only do you get a metal tin, but you also get a nylon zippered pouch with some spaces for all of this stuff in it, so it's pretty cool. So those are some pretty colorful knives. We're going to keep the colorful stuff going with the Dog Bite all-around fixed blade knife. So we've got a few different colors here of Kyanite handles. We've got Pepper Jade is the green and Old Denim is the blue. Prices on these is just under $100, and a lot of that's going towards the Kyanite, which is not cheap. but it looks fantastic. In addition to that, they've actually contoured these really well also. You know, it would have been very easy for them to just put simple flat slabs on here, but that wouldn't have been doing this design justice, which overall I think makes a great, as the name suggests, all-around knife. This would be great for EDC, make a great hunting or camping knife, good for fishing. A few people around here have even commented that they think it would be great for them in the kitchen as well. But as I said, the handles are contoured extremely well. For such a slim, small knife, it really fills my hand quite well. And I've got hands that are on the larger side, but I find this to be very comfortable, especially if you're really bearing down. The contours are just right, it indexes well. Overall, I'm really impressed. Not just in that kind of gorilla grip hold, but the way it tapers down here near the neck, right near the heel of the blade, great for pinching as well. So you can do delicate as well as heavier duty jobs with this knife. So we get a drop point blade. It has a flat grind and it's 440C steel, a little bit over 4 inches in length. It also comes with a leather sheath with a snap closure that hooks over the finger guard there. Now it is undyed, so you can either use that as a blank canvas. You could do a little bit of, you could either just put your own dye on there, or you could do a little scroll work, a little embellishment before you dye it, or you could just let it take on a natural character over time, which could also look pretty cool. But overall, these dog bite all-arounds, I'm really impressed with them. 440C may not be the latest super steel, but I think at the price for what you're getting, because you have that Kieranite handle material, which looks good and grips really well, I think it's really cool. I think the pepper jade might be my favorite of the colors. We have a few different ones. You can check them out online, but I may have to wind up adding one of these to my collection. They're pretty cool. Next up, we've got the new Leatherman Free series, which Leatherman did announce earlier this year at SHOT Show, but they've sort of been rolling it out in waves, and we're proud to have them for you now. This one here is the Free P4, and we have 3 different platforms essentially. You've got the pliers-based P, the knife-based Free K, and the smaller knife-based Free T series. And I'll go over each of these a little bit. But the key thing with all of these is their new magnetic architecture, essentially. Rather than all of these tools and the pivots floating on typical bushings, they're actually held closed magnetically so that they rotate very freely, hence the name Free. But it's definitely a very different feel. I've carried a Wave for a number of years, and it has a very different feel opening and closing than that. I mean, you can see just how, I hesitate to use the word loose because it's not as though they're flimsy. It's just they're very free rotating in this position until you get to the close. But it has a very soft close too. Anyone who's pushed a Leatherman closed knows there is a little bit of force that it takes to do it. But these Frees are just about a drop shut Leatherman action basically. It's kind of cool, but it's really satisfying to close. And if you really want to get to your tool quickly, it also flicks open pretty nicely. Some people are saying like a butterfly knife, and we're trying. I'm not sure, but it's fun nonetheless. Although the rest of the tools, apart from the pliers, are accessible from the outside, and rather than a nail nick, these are held closed magnetically as well. A blade on each side, 2 there, a couple other tools, scissors, saw, and all of these lock open with a shared lock on the back. Functions similar to a lock back in terms of how the lockup itself actually occurs. And then you simply pop that up. It's easier to do it one-handed this way, and you can close it. Now, it used to be on the Wave, only those 4 outside tools were accessible one-handed, but because of the way they've built this, you can get to all the rest of the tools one-handed as well. It's a little bit of a different motion, but you get used to it, and it does pop out all the tools at once, but then you're able to kind of manipulate it, get to the tool you want. Let's say I want the can opener. We're good to go, and then you can close it back up. So this is the P4, which comes with more tools. We've also got the P2, which is a little bit thinner, or a fewer implements overall. That one starts at about 120, and this one right here is at 140. So we also have the K series of new Leatherman Frees, which is their full-size pocket knife version based on the Free architecture. We've got the K2, which again is a little slimmer, and the K4, which has a few more implements here. But you can do the same opening action with one hand on all the extra implements by using your thumb there. Kind of figure out which one you want, close the rest, which is pretty cool. And then you've got the one-hand opening blade, and all these blades are 420 HC, which is what Leatherman's typical steel is. So the K4 is right around 90 bucks. The K2 with a fewer implements is at $80. Finally, the smallest version of the new free is the T2. We also have the T4. The T2 is 40 bucks, the T4 is around 60. But this has just the bare essentials in a smaller frame. You still got a one-hand opening knife blade, and then just a couple of different implements accessible with one finger or one-handed, and all of them share a similar lockback type mechanism right there on the side. Next up, we've got the Emerson CQC8, but this is a new version. It's not quite apparent just from looking at it, but this is a flipper, an Emerson Flipper CQC8. Very cool knife. A lot of people have been asking for a flipper, so they finally come out with it. So now with this, you've got actually 3 different methods of opening the knife. You've got the ambidextrous thumb plate, you've got the wave opening, of course, which lets you draw it from your pocket, and as you do so, it rotates it open, and you have that great modern flipper. Rides on bearings, so you've got great action. Really cool blade. We're at about 4 inches, 154 cm steel, and you can get that either black or stone washed, or like a satin stone wash dual tone finish, and either plain edge or partially serrated. Say, other than the flipper, it's the same CQC8 essentially as that other great tactical model. What's pretty cool is the flipper tab actually completely hides itself when it's open. Because of the design of the finger guard here, it nestles right up inside there, so you don't even see it. Prices on these start at about $265 for the plain edge stone-washed versions. This one right here with the coating and the partial serrations comes in at $275. Next up, we've got another knife with a longer blade, again, almost 4 inches of steel. This is the Steel Will Gina. The blade steel is D2, the handles are G10, and in typical steel wheel fashion, it's both affordable and it flips very well, although not with a flipper. This is a thumb stud equipped model only. Still pops open really nicely, and as I said, affordable. We're at $64 on this. And there's a couple different variations. In addition to the black, you can also get a blue G10, and then you can get either stonewashed or black stonewashed with either. And they change out the standoffs on the back depending on which model you get. This black one here happens to come with red. And you can find all that information, what the standoff colors are, on our website. But overall, this offers a lot of blade length. That's handy. It lets you carry a lot of blade with you when you need it. Pops open really easily. And the blade itself has a pretty cool shape. Technically, I guess it's kind of a drop point, although maybe you could say modified Wharncliffe. Although the first thing I thought of when I saw it was some dark crystal stuff. I mean, this looks almost like a Skeksis head, this blade shape. So any of you fantasy fans out there, maybe you should pick one of these up. So next up is my favorite time of the video, because we're getting into the fixed blades. Although I did show some earlier, so playing with the format a little bit. But now we have the Tops VTech series, and I have 2 of the knives in the series here. I don't have the largest, which is the Norseman, but we've got the Crusader and the Patriot here in front of me. And as you can see, this is not quite like any other Tops you've seen before. They're kind of pushing the envelope in what you can expect from them, but I especially like the Patriot model. I'm a big fan of Nessmuck knives, and this isn't quite a Nessmuck, but it has kind of a similar flow. If this were humped over rather than clipped straight off, it would definitely be a Nessmuck. So this is right up my alley. The blade on this is just about 3 inches. It still is 1095 steel, which a lot of Tops are, but instead of having a heavy coating, it has what they call a acid rain finish. The handles, of course, you can see this 2-tone design with OD green and tan micarta, but turning it over is where it gets extra special. We've got these orange liners and a machined pattern in here that looks a lot like file work. Gives it an extra touch of class, and it just looks really cool. In addition to that, it also works as jimping on the spine of the blade, which is also pretty cool. We've also got an oversized lanyard hole on all of these models, and the sheaths they come with are very good. We've got tan Kydex, holds the knife really nicely, and the small model here comes with these clips or these straps that allow you to carry the knife horizontally on your belt. Great for cross draw, which is something I like to do with a smaller knife, especially when I'm camping. Good for scout carry as well, if you're into that sort of thing. And it even comes with their survival whistle attached to it. So the sheath on the Crusader is a little bit different. It's still Kydex, you've still got the survival whistle, but instead of those straps, you actually get some VTech MOLLE locks. VTech is the company that makes the Tech Lock, which is a very popular attachment option for Kydex. These holes are compatible with that system, but these VTech MOLLE locks are a little bit different. Still has the same hole pattern, but if you pop that open there, you can see how that works. And this actually allows you to thread it through a MOLLE attachment system. And then you can clamp it down, and there's very little chance of that actually coming loose because you can't really just pull one side of the spring up. You have to hit both sides before it wants to come out. So it's pretty darn secure. So next up, we've got another fixed blade with a similar vibe to those tops actually, but this is a Carey design. This is the Nitro fixed blade, and it features S35 VN steel. Overall, I think this is a really cool, a really usable design. Something that could cross over to all kinds of different roles. Certainly combat comes to mind. You've got that nice swedge along there, but I think this would make a great survival knife, a great just general purpose camp knife, because you've got about 4 3/8 of an inch of blade, which is a very controllable amount of steel to maneuver when you're working with it, but it's still big enough you could get some good work done. And the handle itself should fit all kinds of different hand shapes. It's not overly biased to smaller hands or larger hands, definitely. You don't have any prominent finger grooves or anything like that, or any kind of too aggressive of a swell. A little bit on the slim side, but it's still tall enough that it fills my hands quite well. And a lot of different people are gonna find this very easy to hold on to. Now these are mid-tech knives. These aren't his full customs, so we're at $340 on this knife. And we've got this multiple tone G10 as well as a black G10, as well as a nice Kydex sheath and a Tech Lock on there, which you know what those are because we just talked about it. But overall, I think a really cool knife. It's right up my alley. Love the stone-washed finish. Check it out, really cool. So next up, we've got a couple of new kitchen knives, or we've picked up a couple of new lines that I'm actually really excited about. In fact, I think of everything on this table here, these kitchen knives are what I personally am most excited about. It's the Apogee Designs Dragon Ice series, which is available with all the kitchen staples. You've got paring knives, chef knives, slicers, utility knives, all kinds of stuff. But the price you pay for these, the materials you're getting, and the design make them very compelling. This is the 9-inch chef's knife, and this is at $80. Now it is imported, it's a Chinese-made knife, and that's how they're able to get what they give you for that price. So the first thing is the steel. We've got BD1N steel, which has been finding its way into a lot of kitchen knives lately because it works really well. It's nice and stainless, takes a very fine edge, and it holds up very well in that kitchen environment. The spine of the knife is crowned, so it's very comfortable. Whether you're choking up right here, you're not gonna have any edge that's gonna get in the way. When you're doing rocking, you're not gonna have any sharp points. Very comfortable to use and a very nice feature, especially at this price point. Can't stress that enough. This is a bolstered knife, typical of like German style knives, but you don't have a large bolster going all the way down to the cutting edge, which means this is gonna sharpen easier over time. And you have a nice angled pinch point in the front of it as well. So it's very comfortable to hold like that. And on top of that, G10 handles with a nice swell, a nice contour and shape going on. Really, it's a lot of premium stuff for the money you're paying. Really, I can't stress that enough. But if you want something even fancier, all of these Dragon Ice models are also available as Dragon Storm versions. They still feature BD1N steel, but they've got an acid etched finish going on. Makes it look almost like Damascus, so that's a definite, just a cool thing, a definite step up. But let me tell you the real reason I'm excited by this lineup definitely, but the chef's knife and the Santoku especially, is something that it's hard to tell from pictures, and it's something that I'm very particular about personally, is it has a nice rocking motion when you come down on the cutting board. Because of the angle they've used here, it lands gently. It doesn't clunk down on the cutting board, which, first of all, if you're cutting a lot, say in a professional environment, that's gonna help with wrist strain, but it also just feels nicer. It's just more comfortable, feels more premium, elevates the whole experience very nicely. But anyway, can't recommend these knives strongly enough. They're very affordably priced, Great materials, great design, Apogee. So finally, the last thing, we've got a couple of new limited edition Swiss Army knives. The first is the Winter Magic Super Tinker. Tools-wise, it is the Super Tinker that you know and love. We've got some cool Winter Wonderland features on the front. We've got some trees as well as a little cardinal. On the back, you've got a deer, some more trees, and it even comes with a nice little star pendant that you can attach to the key ring there or put somewhere else. But that's a really cool piece, $56 on this one. And last but not least, we've got this really cool box right here. And that's because they've continued their tradition of offering the Huntsman models themed as the Chinese Zodiac. And this is the Year of the Rat 2020 Victorinox Swiss Army Huntsman. So we're priced at $99 on these. And as soon as you start to open it, you can tell that you've got something special going on. It's a really nice box, a really nice package overall. Commemorative card here in the front, which I'm pretty sure it's lasered. You've got a lattice work cutout on the side there that reveals the knife underneath. And you've got English on one side, Chinese on the back, which is also pretty darn cool. And I'm not going to take this out because I don't want to get fingerprints all over it, but there's the Year of the Rat artwork that they've placed on the Huntsman this year. These have always been really cool. It's always exciting to see the new versions of it. But again, Year of the Rat Huntsman, very cool. You can find it at the KnifeCenter. So I know that was a lot of stuff. It was a lot to sit through. Thanks for sticking around. I just gotta say again, check out those Apogee kitchen knives. I'm a really big fan of those. I know I started to ramble a bit there and was kind of losing my train of thought, but they're really cool. You really ought to check those out. Let us know what you think of all these new knives. If something stands out to you, let us know in the comments. And if you want to get your hands on any of them, you can click the links in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com.
Eh.
And it's time to show you off all the new... Show you off.
Show you off. Let me guess. Can't use that?
Can't use it.
Cake time.
I don't care.
I don't care. Go away.
We're busy. We're busy. We're busy.